Okay, let's start in the usual manner. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so today we are commemorating the 2 year passing away of Venerable Sister Khema. So on this day, 2 years ago, Venerable Sister Khema left us, but she also left us physically, but she also left us with a lot of memorable and very valuable teachings that we are very much still using in our daily practice all the time. And so it doesn't really feel like Bhante Vimalaramsi and Venerable Sister Khema really left us at all. When we practice daily, we are constantly reminded of what they left us with, their teachings. So I thought, and I asked, so today Bhante Dhamma Gavesi is hosting a Zoom session at 7:30 India Standard Time, which is about 4 hours or slightly less than 4 hours from now. So those of you who can, you can please dial in to that session, where there will be a short sharing. Bhante Dhamma Gavesi will share about memorable moments from Venerable Sister Khema, what she had left us with, and others are most welcome to dial in and share as well. That session is a little bit too late here in the day, and so I asked Bhante Dhamma Gavesi permission, since we are having our usual book reading session at this hour, whether we could do a little something as well. Those of us who want to share can. And I prepared a short kind of like list, kind of like 10 things that I took away, or 10 things that I found were memorable that I constantly use in my daily practice. And so I would like to invite those of you dialed in, Madam Nanda, Pai, Paul, at any time, if any of these 10 things resonate with you. I limited myself to 10. I could probably go on to 20, 30, etc., but that would be too long. And so I've just limited it to a list of 10. But please do jump in. And if any of these resonate with you, please do jump in, come off mute, and share a little bit your thoughts. And so I might have mixed them up. It's probably not just only coming from Venerable Sister Khema. Some of it likely came from Bhante Ramsi. In any case, their teachings and their styles were very much aligned, and so it is quite normal that I probably end up fusing it together. Yeah, so this is what I came up with, 10 things that most memorable for me from Bhante Vimalaramsi and Venerable Sister Khema that I still have a reference to in my daily practice. And so the first one we all know, those of us who have attended retreats and used TWIM in our daily practice, is probably very relevant to all of us, and that is to smile. And so one of the things that I remembered is probably this came from Bhante Ramsey more than from Venerable Sister Khema, but it's like uh, he used to say in retreats, he was very serious about us smiling, and he used to say, um, you don't have to feel like you want to smile or not. You just do it. It's like you just have to do it. And I think sometimes he was very blatant about it. He would probably go something like, I don't care if you don't want to smile or not, or you don't feel like smiling, just smile. Which I thought was very striking in the retreat that I had with them. So, did any of you want to add to that a little bit? I thought that was the very first thing that was most important, and that is just smile, even if we don't feel like it. Okay, if there's nothing to add, I'll just go to the next one. Number two, of course, with TWIM, we cannot not mention the 6 Rs. But what really resonates with me with regards to the 6 Rs is to relax into the pain, or relax into the hindrance, or relax into the attachment, or the obstacle, or whatever it is that arises. Just relax into it. That I found very useful, in fact, very, very powerful, um, just by relaxing into it. Because our very habitual tendency is to either pull towards it or push away from it. But here comes the 6 Rs, where we are practicing to simply neither pull towards it or push away from it, but rather just relax into it. The third one, which if those of us who remember the last few years that Venerable Sister came out with us, was with us, she released 2 books, and one of the book was titled The Never Mind Game. And I use this probably every single day in my sittings and in my daily practice as well. And the Never Mind game I find very, very useful for a lot of many different situations. Um, any of you, Madam Nanda, Pai, or Paul, have any experiences with the Nevermind game and how that has shaped your practice, your daily practice?
Yeah, it is a very good technique. It does take away that self-criticism and move forward in a very relaxed, smiling way. I thought that was really, really good. Thank you very much.
It is. It is very in a very soft way, and like you say, Madam Nanda, really not really being kind to ourselves at the same time. And when I think of the Nevermind game, naturally, what came to mind was Venerable Sister Khema used to say, we should have not just the Buddhist flag, we should have the anicca flag. She used to say, you know, we should remind ourselves of anicca, or impermanence, or everything is constantly changing. And she used to say, we should make a flag that, looks like a bit of a triangle like this, and it has a big word anicca written on the flag. And so we can think every time when we are practicing, whatever arises in our daily lives, we just never mind, play the never mind game, and then see it as anicca, whether it's for good or for bad. It is not going to last anyway. So I remembered her talking about the anicca flag, that we should have an anicca flag, not just the Buddhist flag, to teach uh, in Sunday schools as well. So I thought that was quite memorable. And then when I thought of number 3 and number 4, naturally for me, number 5 came into mind. And this probably came more so from um, a one of Bhante Vimalaramsi's reading when he was reading the Maharahulovada Sutta. And he used to remind us, just meditate like water. Meditate like water. Whatever we see or we hear, and we don't like it. And not only we never mind it, but we meditate like water. Water doesn't repel, doesn't complain, doesn't do anything whenever we use it to wash, to clean, we throw things in the water, we all sorts of things. Water doesn't hit back at us, and water flows very gently. When we think of rivers flowing into the ocean, it doesn't knock itself against all the rocks and the pebbles in the banks of the river. It doesn't go against that. It just flows around it. So we should meditate like water so that we can just flow nicely through the river to the ocean. We flow right through our daily lives without having to knock against rocks or try to hit them or try to repel against them or complain that why are they there? We should just flow and meditate like water. And that's what I remembered as being memorable in practicing. Number 6 was something I remembered Venerable Sister Khema, but I probably didn't mention it. Well, she did mention it a number of times, and not as much as mentioning Nevermind Game and Anicca flag. And there was also something else about car analogy, but I remembered she said, being a Buddhist doesn't mean that we should be a doormat. So I'm not sure if anyone remembered this. She, I think, mentioned it a number of times. Being a Buddhist doesn't mean being a doormat. So I guess it doesn't mean that just because we want to be kind and compassionate and have these as values, it doesn't equate to allowing others to step over us or to treat us in not so favorable way. So she used to remind us that we needed to understand how we should practice and be confident about it, and not allow ourselves to just be walked on, so to speak. Then when I thought of number 6, then I thought of an example of number 7. And this was a story where Bhante Vimalaramsi shared. And I think Venerable Sister Khema also mentioned it as well, where they were attending, I'm not sure if it was a conference or a meeting of some sort, and there were many senior monks there. in attendance. And Venerable Sister Khema was also there, and Venerable Sister Khema, because of her curiosity, would, be courageous. She would have no qualms at all about going up to different teachers and asking them, what are your thoughts about this and that with regards to the Buddhist teachings, etc., right? And of course, that was just, she wasn't trying to, um, you know, challenge them in any way. She was just trying to find out, be curious, to understand more. And so naturally, she approached them about their understanding of the dependent origination and how they see it, how they understand it, etc. However, some of them took it very differently and became very upset just because Venerable Sister Khema was a woman. And so the story goes that, they were very upset, and then because Bhante Vimalaramsi is Venerable Sister Khema's teacher, so they went up to Bhante Vimalaramsi and asked him and said, "Why are you teaching dependent origination to that woman?" And does anyone here remember what was Bhante Vimalaramsi's answer? Anyone recall? Very
Yeah,
simple
I,
answer.
I can remember because she can understand it.
That's right. Very simple, very wise, very clear cut. Very typical Bhante Vimalaramsi. Um, and so I thought that was a great answer. That was a great answer. But also, when Bhante spoke of that story, it reminded me of a teaching in the Buddha's texts, where the Buddha reminded, I can't remember who asked the question or what was the setting, but the Buddha reminded us clearly uh, not to discount the wisdom of, um, not to treat, let's say, novice monks even um, lightly. He said that sometimes we cannot judge a person's wisdom by their number of vasas, or when they join the order, or whether, and I think he gave a number of categories, but I can't remember. I only remembered the one where it was about not taking lightly even the wisdom of, let's say, a novice monk even. Um, uh, And so I kind of thought, it very much resonated with the Buddha's teaching that whether it's the understanding of dependent origination or the wisdom of the Buddhist teachings, it's not limited to whether one is a senior monk or a junior monk or a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. It's as long as they understand it. When I think of this story, naturally, number 8 came to mind, which is Venerable Sister Khema made dependent origination very easy or very simple to understand. So she broke it down into each of the different um, phases in the dependent origination. I'm not sure if phase is a good word. But she made it very simple, and she ran quite a number of workshops just to guide us through in a very simple manner. And I think since then, I think a number of other teachers have also started talking more about dependent origination. Whereas before, dependent origination back in the days was seen as something that, only the most senior and advanced meditators or students would be able to understand such a teaching. It's made for people who have been studying Buddhism for a very long time, kind of thing. But Venerable Sister Khema made it into workshops and exercises, very simple, so that anyone can understand dependent origination and how it works. So in that sense, she probably started a little bit of a revolutionary stage, let's say. Okay. Number 9, when I thought of the dependent origination workshops and 6 R's, I think of in terms of the recognize release step. When a number of times she would pick up an object. I don't have an object. She used to have an object that was like red or orange, a little bit bright. The only thing I have is a case for my glasses, my spectacles, which is red, so happened. The other one is my phone cover, but don't want to mess with my phone too much. And she used to remind us that the 6 R's, the release step, releasing our tension, tightness, etc., literally is like this, dropping it. That was very memorable. And also, although a very simple act of dropping it like that, because she demonstrated it with an object rather than merely just words, it was also through visual that helped a lot in the actual practice itself. By visualizing it, it was easier to understand how to actually do it. And she used to use songs, which leads me to number 10. She used to use a lot of songs to teach. And she used to say, leave the hindrances at home, release, or leave them alone, leave them alone. And I think that was kind of inspired by, I think it was the Little Bo Peep nursery rhyme. I'm not sure. But she used to say, just leave them at home and leave them alone, and they'll not come and find you. And so the last thing on the list that I made, number 10, is that she also came up with a bunch of songs, and one recording of her composition, let's put it this way, a Buddha Dhamma song. It's on the YouTube channel, but she also quite often use a lot of songs or rhymes to teach as well. So that was a very quick list of 10 things. I'm sure we can make it to 20 or 30 or more, as many as you want. Was there anything that anyone wanted to share in addition to this? Pi has something to add. Let's have a look. Okay, that reminds me. She said that distractions, hindrances, etc., are like a dog. If you don't feed it, it will eventually lose interest and stop bothering you. That's right. So if we don't feed its, if we don't feed our attention to it, it will eventually lose interest in us. It will eventually stop bothering us. So we should leave them at home, or leave them where they are, so they won't come find us again. And this is very useful again and again, especially when we have very, 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 very strong attachments, which is something I'm working on right now. Something that is, for some reason, I'm holding on to. I have no idea why. Baffles me sometimes. Was there anything else that Madam Nanda or Paul or Pai, if you want to add anything else anymore before we continue with today's reading. And of course, you're most welcome to join the session at 7:30 India Standard Time. Excuse me. I went down the wrong way. Okay. All right. So now we can continue with the look with the book reading. Okay. Excuse me. So today's book reading, we're continuing with Ananda, Venerable Ananda. And last week we read about his attitude towards women and how he played a major role in the formation of the Bhikkhuni Sangha. So it wasn't that the Buddha was opposed to forming the Bhikkhuni Sangha. And we learned very much when we were reading that Buddhas of the past also during their time had Bhikkhuni Sanghas as well. What the Buddha meant when he initially refused was that he didn't want it to be taken lightly. He wanted it to be understood as it's no small matter, and that it needs to be taken have a little bit more thought and be a little bit thought out more before before doing it. Okay, so today we're going to read on Ananda, Venerable Ananda, and his fellow monks. So, of all the monks, the Venerable Sāriputta was Ananda's closest friend. So Venerable Sāriputta, of course, is one of the chief disciples, but Venerable Sāriputta was also foremost in wisdom, second only to the Buddha. And many times, the Buddha had a lot of praise for Venerable Sāriputta as well, as a teacher. So there does not seem to have been a close relationship between Ananda and his half-brother Anuruddha. So Anuruddha was also another senior disciple of the Buddha. I think Anuruddha, is featured in this book, later chapter. So they were half-brothers, but there isn't a lot of record that they had a lot of, in the text at least. Okay, because the latter, Anuruddha, preferred solitude, while Ananda was fond of people. Sariputta was the disciple who most resembled the master and with whom he could talk in the same way as with the Buddha. So in terms of characteristics, let's say. And it is remarkable that of all the monks, only Sariputta and Ananda received honorary titles from the Buddha. Sariputta was called marshal of the Dhamma, or Dhamma Senapati, and Ananda was its guardian or treasurer. So Dhamma Bandhagarika. So one can see their complementary roles in this. Sariputta, the lion, was the active teacher. Ananda was more the preserver, the treasurer. So he preserved or guarded the teachings. And in certain respects, Ananda's methods resembled more those of Moggallana, whose inclinations were also motherly and preserving. But Ananda and Sariputta often worked together as a team. They went twice to visit the Sikale supporter, Anathapindika. So here we read in the Majjhima Nikaya, the discourse on Anathapindika, and he was really, really sick. And he requested a teacher, and they went to give him some teachings. And they also dealt with the dispute of monks of Kosambi. And they also had many Dhamma discussions with each other. So close was their friendship that when Sariputta attained final Nibbāna when Sariputta passed away, Ananda, even despite all his training in meditation, felt almost as if he had fallen into an abyss. So this was taken from the Thera. All the quarters have become dim. The teachings are not clear to me. Indeed, my noble friend has gone and everything is cast in darkness. So we can see like he, as though everything had collapsed in his world, it all become very dark just by Venerable Sariputta passing away. So can imagine that they must have been very, very close. Companions, friends, teacher, student, maybe even, yeah? His body felt drained of strength, and even the sustenance of the Dhamma seemed to have deserted him at that moment. Such was the impact of the death message. And then the Buddha consoled him. He asked Ananda to reflect whether Sariputta had taken from him his own virtue, meditation, wisdom, liberation, all the knowledge of liberation. So the Buddha asked, how come you're so down? Did Sariputta, in Sariputta's passing, also take from you your virtue, your practice, your meditation, your wisdom, your liberation, whatever you've achieved in your practice, all the knowledge of liberation? Did Sariputta take all these with him when he passed away? And Ananda had to agree that these, the only important aspects, had not changed. But he added, Sariputta had been such a helpful companion and friend for him and others. And again, the Buddha directed the conversation to a higher level by reminding Ananda of what he, the Buddha, had always taught, that nothing that has arisen can remain forever. So, as we mentioned earlier, memorable moments with Venerable Sister Khema, Anicca flag. Anicca flag. Of course, it takes a lot of practice. So the death of Sariputta was, for the other disciples, like cutting off the main branch of a large tree. Very painful. But that should only be another reason for relying on oneself, on no one else, and for being one's own island and refuge. So this is something very common. We see a lot in teachings of the Buddha, that we are our own refuge. We are our own teacher. Bhante Vimalaramsi used to say a lot, right from the beginning. Whoever attends his retreats, he'll be like, you are your own teacher. What are you talking about? You are your own teacher in Bhante Vimalaramsi's style, yeah? He's like, We are just guides where we point. Our job is to point so that you look in the correct and you practice in the right direction. But you are your own teacher. You have to develop the insights and wisdom to practice. And many discussions that Ananda had with other monks are also recorded. Only a few can be related here. So one of them was with Venerable Vangisa. So one day, the Venerable Vangisa accompanied Ananda to the king's palace, where Ananda was to teach the Dhamma to the women of the harem, means the women in the palace. So it could be the queens, it could be the king's consorts, and the women in general in the palace. And Vangisa, it seems, had a strong streak of sensuality in his character. And when he saw the beautiful palace women dressed up in all their finery, his heart was flooded with sensual desire all of a sudden. And suddenly he felt the celibate life of a monk, to which he had taken so readily, as oppressive as a lead weight. And thoughts of disrobing and indulging in sensual pleasures played havoc with his mind. And again, here is an example of Venerable Vangisa during the Buddha's time. But here today, this is still very common. We can hear of monks, sometimes even nuns. I don't think it's something that is biased towards one gender or the other. It's just in general. And it's not necessarily just sensual desire towards physical sensuality, let's say. It could be the desire to want to lead a lay life for whatsoever reason, you know. Whereas a couple of years before that, they were so ready to take up the robes and so keen to study and practice the Dhamma. And then we see a few years down the road, all of a sudden, that goes in a complete opposite direction. I've seen and heard a number of cases as well. So it's not uncommon. Just happen more often than we think, for one reason or another. Okay, and in the case of Venerable Vangisa, it was just the sight of the beautiful palace women that was enough to turn his head around, so to speak. So as soon as they could speak in private, Vangisa explained his plight to Ananda and appealed for his help and guidance. As he was the foremost poet in the Sangha, he spoke in verse. So Vangisa was foremost poet. Addressing Ananda by his clan name Gautama, I am burning with sensual lust. My mind is all engulfed by fire. Please tell me how to extinguish that fire, that sensual lust, out of compassion, O Gautama. And Ananda replied in verse, it is due to an inversion of perception that your mind is engulfed by fire. Turn away from the sign of beauty, the aspect linked to sensual lust. So he's telling Vangisa, you just turn away, look away. Don't look at it. See constructions as alien. See them as suffering, not as self. Extinguish the mighty fire of lust. Do not burn up again and again. So here he's saying, see constructions, formations, physical formations in this sense. See them as alien. Don't see them as So he is looking at, let's say, in this example, it is the beautiful women in the palace. So he's saying, don't see them as beautiful women in the palace. See these formations as alien, as something that is so not alien as in alien outer space, but see them as not common, as something that's weird. See them as suffering, as dukkha, in the sense that they are not necessarily just beautiful women. They are dukkha, not as self. They are dukkha. They are subject to change. They are subject to suffering. They are subject to, these women are, don't see them as like that. See them as subject to the three characteristics in summary. See them as subject to anicca, dukkha, anatta, in that sense. Then he says, extinguish this fire of lust. Don't allow it to come up again and again. Develop meditation on the fowl with mind one-pointed, well concentrated. Let your mindfulness dwell upon the body, be engrossed in disenchantment. So here it's mainly just to tell Vangisa, meditate on the foulness of the body. What is the body made up of? Yeah, and we can meditate on those parts of the body. There is a meditation on the foulness of the body, but Bhante used to say that he doesn't usually recommend it as an object of meditation because it can go very quickly in the opposite right direction if not guided properly. And he said a quicker, easier way to do the same thing is, if we develop that, we just look at the body and turn it inside out. So because our skin usually covers everything inside that's gross looking, which is the flesh, muscles, sinews, bones, blood, etc., which is gross, usually what we don't like to see. Pus, blood, etc., urine. And so what Bhante Vimalaramsi used to say is, just turn the body inside out. Sorted, easy. So this is another way to have that kind of disenchantment. We turn the body inside out. Everything that's in the body is actually on the outside, skin on the inside. And then immediately one goes, okay, right. Develop the signless meditation, discard the tendency to conceit. Then by breaking through conceit, you will fare with heart at peace. So here I'm a little bit, to be honest, lost with this last verse here. But in summary, I can only think of it as by using the earlier practices that Ven Ānanda suggested here, he's telling us to use these as tools to develop the break through the habitual tendency of conceit or pride, or thinking, I am me, I am this, I am holding on to lust, I am the one that has sensual desire, I am, so the I, it is my lust, it is me that is doing that, so that I, me, my, drop it, is what Venerable Ananda is saying. That's my understanding, to put it in simpler terms. Using all these tools, which is turn away from that sign or that vision or that whatever that we see, turn away, or see those formations as alien, something that's not normal, see them as anicca, dukkha, anatta, develop meditation on the foulness or of the body, or like Bhante Vimalaramsi puts it, just turn the body inside out, and then drop that habitual tendency of I, me, my. This is my lust. This is what I see. Just drop it. Release it. Siksar it. And you will fare with heart at peace. So that's how I understood a very poetic structure to very common layman terms, words, simple way to apply into our practice. Hopefully I got that close enough. Ananda showed Vangisa that he constantly refueled sensual desire because his perception fastened upon the superficial appearance of feminine charm. The fascination with beauty gave rise to a feeling of deprivation, which manifested as weariness of mind and as a kind of aversion towards the ascetic life. So here the commentary is saying that beautiful appearance is giving the mind, or something else arises in the mind. When the mind sees a beautiful appearance, then it automatically starts to think of the deprivation or what's missing in his life. Sorry, I see someone raised a hand. No, maybe I'm not. Okay. So in other words, it's very common, like there's a saying, right? The grass is greener on the other side, or when we see something that we think, ooh, that looks great. I like that. I think if I move away from what I'm doing right now, go towards that, I will be happier. And isn't that what most of us generally think? And that's what drives the world today. Filled with the fire, let's put it this way, a fire of this sort of passion. Or here, the words last sensual desire come to mind. So in this example, it is feminine charm or beautiful women. But in today's world, it's not limited to that, right? There's so many things that look superficially pretty, beautiful, fascinating, etc. And we don't need to be monks and nuns to go, maybe if I let my life a little bit different, I might be able to enjoy that as well. So Vangisa wasn't altogether a bad monk. Was very normal. Most of us probably have a lot of that tendency, or at least I do. Sometimes. Okay. So the fascination, sorry, we read that. Okay. Therefore, Vangisa had to contemplate soberly those things that seemed beautiful and desirable. And with the scalpel of meditative insight, so meditative insight is almost like a scalpel in surgery, when the doctor uses a scalpel, it's very carefully used to cut through parts of the body. So when the surgeon is using the scalpel, it's not like using a scissors where we just simply cut anything we want. This is in surgery, it has to be very precise. So here the author used scalpel of meditative insight to kind of put it in a way that insight, wisdom can be very sharp, direct, to the point. where we want to cut if we know how to. So with the scalpel of meditative insight, he had to dissect the body and probe beneath its charming exterior in order to see the wretchedness and misery lying within. Just simply put, as Bhante Vimalaramsi puts it, just turn the body inside out. Simple, done. In this way, his lust would fade away and he would be able to stand up strong and invincible amid the enticements of worldly enjoyment. Now there's another monk called Channa. The monk Channa was plagued with doubts about the Dhamma. And some people are like that, plagued with doubts. And doubt actually is one of the 5 hindrances. Yeah. And it's a major hindrance. Doubt is a major hindrance. Even if it's not in the Dhamma, doubt in terms of in general, in learning anything. If one wants to progress, one wants to learn, do anything, want to learn anything, progress in terms of building up knowledge, the moment they have doubt, whether it's in the instructions or in the teacher, that is big mental block, big. So Channa had this big mental block. And during the Buddha's lifetime, he had been an obdurate bhikkhu, self-willed, difficult to train. But after the Buddha's parinibbana, he was filled with a compelling sense of urgency. And though he humbly sought instructions from the other monks, he could not make satisfactory progress. So the danger and the problem with having strong doubt is one of these things. Is when we somehow it's like a cloud, it just engulfs us, for lack of a better word. It's like covers. It's like this big cover, boom. No matter how much we want to, still it's like boom, can't see. Doubt is that way. He could understand that the 5 aggregates are impermanent, but when he tried to contemplate the principle of non-self or impersonal nature of things, he came to a standstill, stricken with the fearful thought that Nibbāna would be the destruction of his precious ego. And so he came for advice to Ananda. And Ananda first expressed his joy that Channa had relinquished his obstinacy. Yahoo! So at least Channa was no longer stubborn. Whereas before the Buddha passed away, Channa was very strong-willed. He was very stubborn. He's like, I can do this. I don't need to listen to anyone. But suddenly after the Buddha passed away, he was like, oh, okay. What's wrong with my practice? How come no matter what I do, I can't make satisfactory progress? What's wrong with me? And he had this urgency all of a sudden. So Ananda first expressed joy. Ananda first said to Channa, congratulations, you're no longer stubborn. Now you're keen to understand the Dhamma. Hoorah! That's the first step. So we can see here, Ananda is, his very nature is like that. He's very encouraging. He's very supportive as a fellow monk, as a teacher. So Channa was delighted. So obviously when a person is desperate, when they realize that they have a problem and they can't seem to solve it, if they come across a teacher that tells them that, or even a mentor or someone who supports them, or a more senior person, if that person, instead of scolding them, goes the opposite and go, hey, good job, you're finally coming around, then that immediately gains trust. So Ananda had Channa's trust. So Channa was delighted. And he listened with undivided attention to Ananda's exposition of the Buddha's discourse to cut Channa on transcending the extremes of being and non-being. And by the end of Ananda's explanation, Channa had arrived at the path and fruit of stream entry. And thereupon he exclaimed how wonderful it was to have such wise friends as teachers. He had at last become securely established in the Dhamma. So we can see from this very short chapter how Ananda's character role as a guardian of the Dhamma was, I mean, the Buddha granted him that honorary title, so to speak, very befitting him. His virtues, his character, and his ability to relate and connect with other fellow monks and help them as well. So that positioned him in a very special way, Venerable Ananda. And so not only his fellow monks, but the rest of us, we have a lot to be grateful for his work. Okay, we can pause here. Next time the readings will continue with the conversations with the Buddha. So we're going to pause here for now. I am just going to stop sharing this and open the floor. If anyone has any thoughts, comments, or questions they'd like to add or share. It doesn't have to be necessarily limited to the book reading. It can also be on the occasion of remembering Venerable Sister Khema and her works, or also remembering Bhante Vimalaramsi, who had passed away just a few months before Venerable Sister Khema. Madam Nanda, you have something to add?
It's very interesting to listen to all the things that you mentioned about Sister Khema and Venerable Vimalaramsi, and also reading the Venerable Ananda's character. Very interesting. Thank you very much indeed.
You're most welcome. I try to when I read the book, because the style of the writing, don't get me wrong, Venerable Nyanaponika Thera and Hellmuth are very, their prose is great, their writing is great, very immaculate, a lot of thought put into it, and it's brilliant. But sometimes I think about, I don't necessarily know who listens to the recordings, to be very honest, apart from those of you who are regulars dialed in. My thought also goes to those who listen to the recordings after and how it can relate to them. And I'm always trying to think, how do we tell the story? Because, and this is an age-old practice, by the way, I was told once, storytelling is an age-old practice of teaching, not teaching, of passing down teachings, let's put it this way, of passing down teachings or passing down values. So apparently, the storytelling has been a mechanism of like age old, like since, I don't know, indigenous people, let's say, communities, let's say, long. And because I'm also, well, I work, so I play many hats. And one of my work is called data storytelling. So we take data, which to a lot of people is just made up of a bunch of numbers and text. But we try to put it in visuals and generate insights so that people can understand, not just numbers. So storytelling is actually, what I've been told, is a very powerful tool to pass down information or share um, values, share insights, whatever. And that's the reason why we have children's stories, if you think about it, because that's the most effective way to teach or pass down values to children, by telling stories. And it works with adults as well. And nowadays, a lot of people, well, we see it everywhere in advertisements, TV, movie, etc. The entire entertainment industry, because I have a background in performing arts, is storytelling. um, whether it's storytelling through dance, through music, through drama, through theater, it's all just storytelling in different forms. And so usually what I try to do is I try to not just read the book, but to, what's the word? Simplify it? Nah. So not just read it word for word, of course, reading it word for word, but also being mindful that if I read it word for word, it may only resonate with a certain number of people. But if I can try to turn that word for word into, let's say, what's common in our daily life, like use that happened during the time of the Buddha and try and relate that to, well, it can happen to us as well, just in a different context. We're in a different time and space, but we're all human beings as well. So that's what I try to do. So that hopefully, more people can relate. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the goal is that when we can relate better to the teachings, that then helps us develop more faith and confidence in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Actually, the main goal and the main aim of reading this text, the great disciples of the Buddha, really the main goal is to ignite, if not already there, faith and confidence in the Triple Gem. If it's already there, to further fuel that faith and confidence. Actually, rephrase. To further refuel that faith and confidence in the Triple Gem, but also in ourselves, which is even more important. So hopefully in the process of reading about the stories of the great disciples and the Buddha himself, we can then further fuel our own faith and confidence in the teachings and faith and confidence in our own practice as well. That we are not alone, that we are not too far away, that as long as we stick to our practice and we continue to have the confidence, that we will get somewhere, to have that faith. And that faith is super important in the progress. Doubt is difficult. It is a major blocker. So hopefully this one can at least, this process, this sharing session, whatever you want to call it, hopefully can at least help to counter that one hindrance, doubt. is what I'm hoping. Sorry, I went a big, huge circle. Actually, basically what I was trying to say is I'm hoping through these storytelling sessions that it will help to counter that one hindrance out of the five, which is doubt. If it can help to counter all five, brilliant. Bonus goal. Ding ding. Sorry, gone a little bit out of context, but I hope I hope that does help.
You're doing absolutely great. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything to sometimes I do the most weird things to try and get my students to music, I mean, to practice or to get it, you know. I sometimes have to sing and dance for them. Not very often, but just to try and get them to smile. Oh my God, I had a 10-year-old tell me the other day that her friend couldn't think of a happy thought. Poor 10-year-old girl, ask her to think of a happy thought. She goes, I can't think of a happy thought. What's happening with our kids today? Anyway, kids. All right, we shall share merits. Let me see. Kids. Kids say the dumbest things. And then they come around. All right, so let us share merits. We shall share merits together. Let's notch this a little bit. Okay. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share these merits that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so those of you, if you have time and you want to dial in, 7:30 India Standard Time today. Otherwise, quite likely, I'm assuming that Bhante Dharmakavesi will record the session as well. Okay, for those who can't dial in. All right, thank you so much for dialing into today's session, and I wish you all good, pleasant, beautiful, happy week ahead. Keep smiling. Exercise and eat well and sleep well is also very important. 3 very basic things, but if we don't have a healthy body, it's very difficult to have a healthy mind. They go very close together. So I wish you all have a healthy body as well. All right, take care. Bye-bye.